A Treatise of Satan's Temptations. By Richard Gilpin. A Discourse of the Malice, Power, Cruelty and Diligence of Satan. First part of Chapter 5. Instances of Satan's power. Of witchcraft, what it is. Satan's power argued from thence. Of wonders. Whether Satan can do miracles? An account of what he can do that way. His power argued from apparitions and possessions. I shall add, in the fifth place, some particular instances of his power, in which I shall insist upon these four: witchcraft, wonders, apparitions, and possessions. 1. First, witchcraft affords a very great discovery of Satan's power. But because some give such interpretations of witchcraft, as if true, would wholly take away the force of this instance, I shall first endeavor to establish a true notion of witchcraft, and secondly, from thence argue Satan's power. 1. First, though the being of witches is not directly denied, because the authority of Scripture, Exodus 22:18, Deuteronomy 18:10 and so on, hath determined beyond controversy that such there are. Yet some will allow no other interpretation of the word, than a skill and practice, in the art of poisoning, because the Septuagint doth interpret the Hebrew word, by Phi Romeo Alpha Kappa Omicron Nu, Beneficium. Which apprehension, they strengthen by the authority of Josephus, who giveth this account of the law: let none of the children of Israel use any deadly poison, or any drug wherewith he may do hurt, etc. It is easy to observe that this conceit ariseth, from a great inobservancy, of the reason of the application of these words, Phi Romeo Alpha Kappa Omicron Sigma and Beneficus, to witchcraft, in Greek and Latin authors. Witchcrafts were supposed to be helped forward by the strength of several herbs, and these, by incantations and other ceremonies at their gathering, imagined to attain a poisonous and evil quality or efficacy for such effects, as were intended to be produced by them, as appears by Ovid, Virgil, and other authors. Hence was it that the word Phi Romeo Alpha Kappa Omicron Sigma, became applicable to any sort of witchcraft. To this may be added, that such persons were resorted to, for help against diseases, vitally, crit, sac, invoke, as also that they used unguents, for transportations. Hence Godwin renders Phi Alpha Romeo Kappa Omicron Upsilon Sigma by Unguentarios. Dioscorides, Cap. De Remno, hath an expression to this purpose, that the branch of that tree, being placed before the doors, doth drive away town nu Phi Alpha Romeo Kappa Omega Nu Kappa Alpha Kappa Omicron Upsilon Rho Gamma Alpha Sigma, witchcrafts. It were ridiculous to say, it drives away poisonings, which is a sufficient evidence that the Grecians used that word, to signify another kind of witchcraft, than that which this mistake would establish. Besides this, the Scripture doth afford two strong arguments against this interpretation of witchcraft. 1. That this word is ranked with others, as being of the same alliance, which will carry the apprehensions of any considerate man, to effects done by the help of Satan, in an unusual way, as Deuteronomy 18:10. There shall not be found among you any that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire. This is not the consuming of their children to Moloch, but by way of illustration, a mock baptism, a piece of witchcraft, to preserve from violent death, or that useth divination, an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. The very neighborhood of the witch will tell us that this witch must be a diviner, divination being the general term, comprehending the 7 particulars following. It would be a harsh straining to put in the poisoner, in the sense of our opposites, among the diviners. Yet the second argument is more cogent, which is this, that among those whom Pharaoh called together to encounter with Moses, Exodus 7:11, we find witches or sorcerers expressed by the same word, which is used in Exodus 22 and Deuteronomy 18. What can more certainly fix the interpretation of the word, than this place, where the end of Pharaoh's calling them together, was not to poison Moses and Aaron, but by enchantment to outfit them in point of miracles? Which will show that witchcraft is not poisoning, but the doing of strange acts by the aid of Satan. Neither was this the act of one man, who might possibly, together with that present age, be under a mistake concerning witches, though it be a thing not to be supposed, but long after him, Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 2:4, being astonished with his dreams, calls for the sorcerers or witches, and magicians, to give him the interpretation. Which had been a matter very improper for them, if their skill had lain only in mixing poisons. When we have thus silenced this imagination, we have yet another to encounter with, and that is, of those that think these witches, of which the 4-cited texts do speak, are but mere cheats, and by some tricks, of delusion, and legerdemain, pretend they can do things, which indeed they cannot do at all. And yet finding death threatened to such, which, in a business of mere juggling, would seem too great a severity, they have framed this answer to it, that the death is threatened, not for juggling, but for their presumptuous and blasphemous undertaking, to do things that belong to a divine power, and for taking his name in vain. Or, as others are pleased to say, though they have no real power, they are justly punished, for the belief they have, that they can do such mischief, joined with their purpose to do it, if they can. In answer to this apprehension, I shall not much insist upon these reasons, which yet are sufficiently weak, the latter accusing God's laws of unreasonable severity, and the former accusing them of unnecessary redundancy, seeing enough in other places is provided against blasphemers, but shall offer a consideration or two, which I judge will be a force to rectify the mistake. 1. First, though it cannot be denied but that a great many cheats, there have been in all ages, by which men have endeavored to raise the repute and esteem, of their own skill and excellencies, or for other base ends. Yet, from hence to conclude that all these things, that have been done under the name of witchcraft were such, must be an unsufferable piece of insolence. Not only denying that credit which all sober men owe to history, to the constant belief of all ages, to the faithfulness and wisdom of judges, jurors, witnesses, laws, and sanctions, but also dangerously overthrowing all our senses, so that at this rate we may well question whether we really eat, drink, move, sleep, and anything else that we do. This reason is urged by grave and serious men. 2. Secondly, it cannot be imagined that such things are merely delusory, where the voluntary confessions of so many, have accused themselves and others, not of thinking or juggling, but of really acting and doing such things, with such circumstances, as have particularized time, place, thing, and manner. 3. Thirdly, the real effects done by the power of witchcraft, show it not to be delusion. Such are the transportation of persons many miles from their habitations, and leaving them there, their telling things, done in remote places, raising of storms and tempests, vomiting of pins, needles, stones, cloth, leather, and such like, and these, some of them, attested by sober and intelligent persons who were eyewitnesses. Large accounts you have of these in Botanus, Sprengerius, and several others that have borrowed these relations from them. We will continue tomorrow. Thanks.